been a long road since the original kicker christened that first pickup truck. It kicked off a car audio renaissance, and upgrading your music in a vehicle was a requirement. America's music machines became living loud over your passion, your emotion, your existence. Outdoors or on the open road, your sound is kicker.
Outlaw Armageddon is the biggest no-prep race in the world.
Outlaw Armageddon is the Mecca. It's the Super Bowl, literally.
Yeah.
It's big. I feel it's big. It seems big.
It's the biggest one there is.
It's the biggest one.
Biggest names, biggest payouts, big Rob's there, big Mark's there.
We originally started years and years ago with no prep racing on the concrete from the finish line going towards the starting line, and NHRA had a different idea on that.
Yeah, they weren't too happy about that.
They won. So I then came up with another idea. I said, hey, what if we don't spray all that sticky stuff on there, and let's just turn it into a driver's game, which like the street. The street is like a driver's game, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And then we decided to just turn it around and put it right there from the starting line, and then you had to drive the car. Outlaw Armageddon is in Noble, Oklahoma, which is roughly about 45 minutes from the city. And then
So is Stillwater.
this is true.
Just the other direction.
So it's only like an hour and a half if you were to leave one door and go to the next door.
Yeah, probably.
And you'd be able to listen to their products the whole way there.
There you go.
Hit family, friends, loud, living loud. I like that.
One of the cars that's going to be in the kicker booth is my personal car. It's a 99 Camaro that I enter in all the daily driver classes and just pretty much whoop everybody. I have a full kicker system in it. I got 2 tins in the back and a box that weighs 150 pounds, and I still race.
The other car that's going to be there is my car, is a black convertible 93 Mustang. It too is a street raced car. It's a 5-speed car, so it's a handful. It's fun. It's got a nitrous fogger on it, Nitrous Express. But the coolest part of my car is that it also has a kicker, complete sound system in it. Subwoofers and all the mids and highs and everything. And I literally drive around and people can hear me that don't want to hear me, but I mean, I'm okay with that, you know?
Yeah.
I just drive out of their lives. Come on out to Outlaw Armageddon, see what we work so hard all year long to put together, reaching out to family and friends where they join hands with us and make all this happen. Everybody that you all like on TV and everybody that you don't like on TV, come out to their house and see exactly what they've got going on and see all businesses that have come together to join hands and put on the best show that we could possibly put on. And it's August 9th through the 11th. It's gonna be hot, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's gonna be loud music, there's gonna be fast cars. And I'm going to be there.
It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a good time. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be living loud.
Yeah, living loud.
I like that.
At Outlaw Armageddon.
Outlaw Armageddon.
Music is my passion, my livelihood, and it's in my DNA. My pals at Kicker Marine Audio gave me a chance to take the music, what I love and listen to, at home, on stage, and in the car, onto the water. Hi, this is Jason Bonham, and I want to say a big thank you to my friends at Kicker Audio for inspiring the songs and the stories behind the music that inspires America. Go overboard! This is your time.
I'm Steve Irby. I'm the president and the founder of Kicker. Back in high school, I was playing in a rock and roll band and needed a bigger speaker for my keyboard. And I went to my dad and asked him for $300. I remember the newspaper kind of dropped and he says, is that something that we could build? 2 or 3 days later, he came home with a book on audio, and it had plans for building speakers. We built a speaker enclosure and put an amp on it, and I played my keyboard through it, and it sounded really good. I graduated from college and went to grad school. I began to realize I don't want to be a sociologist, and decided that I was going to drop out of grad school and start a speaker company. I had about $12,000 that I had inherited from my grandparents. It seemed to make sense to use it to start a business. And so we bought woodworking tools, we bought plywood, and we got plans from the Alltech Lansing Company for building these big voice of the theater speakers that a lot of bands used. We started building those in the garage and just selling them to local bands. In 1980, a friend of mine contacted me and said that he had started a music store in Canton, Oklahoma, and there was a lot of guys that drove pickup trucks. I designed a speaker that fit just in the little wedge shape behind the seat in a single cab pickup truck and sent it over to him. And he called me back a few days later, and you know, the guys love this speaker, we need more, and you know what they call it? And I go, no, what do they call it? And he goes, well, they call it the ass kicker. Back in the early 2000s, we got involved primarily in motocross. We were looking for ways to market our product. We began using the tagline, living loud, and so motocross went right along with that. Arena cross was a natural fit for us, wanting to live loud with motorcycles and the people that enjoy watching that type of events. We're very excited to be involved with Arena Cross and where it's going today.
Steve Strope of Pure Vision Design here with me now. A beautiful 73 Challenger behind us. Now, you literally turn automobiles into automotive art, because when you look at this thing, there is no detail left untouched, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. You can see in the back Schwab on the back of the Challenger. So tell me the story behind that.
The Charles Schwab firm had us build this car to give away at the Charles Schwab Challenge, the Colonial. It's part of the PGA Tour. And so this was awarded to the golf pro that won that tournament. In this case, it was Kevin Na. And Kevin actually gave it to Kenny, his caddy. So Kevin gave it to Kenny, the caddy. Anyway, follow along. So we asked to borrow it, to bring it here to SEMA. And a lot of little details, as you said, but that's kind of one of our things we're known for is little touches. We call it the Easter egg hunt. You find neat things like the lettering you just found that says Schwab instead of Dodge.
And the little touches really tell the story. They connect the dots for people. And something you told me a few moments ago, the color of the seat interior, vanilla shake, and then also some of the interior accents, and it's part of the championship jackets. That is so cool.
Right. On the seat inserts and the door cards, there's the tartan, and it is not like the jacket. It is cut from the actual material, so the jacket matches the interior of the car, which makes sense since the guy who, well, Kevin gave it away, but most golf pros who got the jacket would be matching to the interior. So I try to bring those touches in, and my clients expect that from me, and we tried to do that on this car.
Right, and it is such a beautiful build. Now, you mentioned the color is actually a part of the Aston Martin family. Explain to me why you chose that color.
Well, I wanted to stay with the Schwab corporate colors, which is like a light blue and an off-white or white. So I found this. I use a lot of Aston colors on a lot of my builds, and this is Glacier Blue, and it's a beautiful, beautiful color.
So pretty up close.
Yeah, and the car wears it well. You never see Challenger. Usually you see them black or orange or purple or something crazy. So it refined the car. So I've been very happy, and of course the client's very happy, and Kenny's really happy. Everyone's happy.
And of course, one of the, in my opinion, very good choices for a finishing touch, the Kicker audio system that you put in the car. What leads you towards Kicker audio?
I've been using Kicker stereo since 1997. I've done posters with Kicker. We've had a long relationship, and they are still the only stereo I put in every single one of our builds.
Just another touch of excellence on this beautiful build, and thank you so much for kind of explaining it to us and walking us through it, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Something bad, your hands on the wheel, got a sexy touch. It's enough to make me and my Chevy blush so long. Take it all off of that highway, turn me on, I'll let you drive, babe. You can take it fast as you want to, girl, little dirty looks damn good on. You start me up, Stones on the radio, girl, I love the way you let go. Don't waste your way in the wrong way, get off on some 4x4 play.
Flash! This just in. Extra low frequencies detected emanating from the heavens. Saucer-shaped objects confirmed all over the world. Unidentified flying K saucers spotted delivering Kicker's amazing new Q Subwoofer. Built for precision, built for abuse, built for the future and benefit of mankind. Kicker's new Q woofer leaves audiences astounded and amazed as it reveals subtleties in their favorite music in a way that is sure to make women blush and grown men cry. The surround features Kicker's variable cross-section high-roll design, allowing extended cone travel and excellent cone control. It's firmly attached to the cone, reinforced with our iconic stitching. Betsy Ross would be so proud. The injection molded solo cone and laser X cone brace combined in a single ultra-rigid unit. Venting in the brace relieves performance-robbing back pressure. All this adds up to very low distortion and amazingly clean low bass. A progressive roll blue lace spider adds even more cone control at maximum excursion. The woven tinsel leads are sandwiched between the spider and the lace for durability and long life and to prosper. The spring terminal's heavy-duty square design accepts wires as big as 8-gauge or two 12-gauge wires for multi-sub installations. The high-temp voice coil is rumored to be spun upon the looms of the gods of polyamide fiberglass, along with a reinforced former for high strength and power handling. Now, add colossal magnets, plus a cavernous bump back plate, an extended pole piece created in a single forging, the likes that haven't been seen since the creation of Poseidon's trident. And the result is a driver with superior control and effective heat dissipation that extreme performance demands. The all-new Kicker Comp Q is designed from the ground up to deliver everything you demand from a premium subwoofer. High output, deep, powerful, accurate bass, remarkably small enclosure requirements, stunning good looks, and not to mention the ability to frighten small children when turned up to 11. So there you have it. The all-new Kicker Comp Q subwoofer. Another zenith of innovation and epic majesty from Kicker.
Microphone check, microphone check. This is Aaron. Which camera am I on? Good morning. Oh wait, good evening. Welcome to Kicker UnMasked. It is Tuesday night, and clearly I'm not John Myers. Well, where is John Myers? So John and I were actually having lunch in Indianapolis yesterday. We had just done the Mira Knowledge Fest. We had a great lunch, and then I went to the airport, and he didn't go to the airport. When he finally got home late last night, he had a fever, a really bad fever. So he said, hey guys, can't come in tonight, so you got me. So hopefully we're gonna have some fun together, and I do appreciate y'all being here. We do this every Tuesday night at 7:30 Central Time. And of course it is UnMasked, and I forget how many of these we've done, but it's a lot. So tonight we have a few things to talk about before we get to our guests and our giveaways. Housekeeping. So tonight we have, well actually let me tell you who's not here first. Mr. Tim Smith, cameraman Tim Smith. He's not here tonight. And the reason he's not here tonight is he just got upgraded. He went from boyfriend to husband. Yes, Mr. Tim Smith got married. Ladies, I know he's off the market, fantastic guy, but he is now spoken for. So that's why he's not here. He's on his honeymoon, or staycation honeymoon, or I don't know exactly where he is, but he didn't want to be talked to tonight. So here we've got Bill, of course. Bill's here. Bill's working the social media. We like to call him Bill Frog, Mr. Ribbit. And we've got Ernie. Ernie's the mix master, and of course JW. JW brought in the food. JW makes sure I've got water. JW actually drives the truck that gets us to and from Indianapolis. JW does everything. You would think that we have more than one JW. We only have one, but he's everywhere all the time, so it's like there's more than one. So that's pretty awesome. And we've got, oh yeah, dinner. We did have dinner tonight. And thank you, Steve and Becky Irby, for buying us dinner every Tuesday night. In fact, JW and I were eating dinner out on Steve and Becky all weekend because we were in Indianapolis together. So we've been having a lot of good dinners. But tonight was Texas Roadhouse, and I think we should have a dinner sponsor. These guys said, no, Aaron, don't ask for a dinner sponsor, but I think we should have a dinner sponsor. So if Chick-fil-A, you want to sponsor us, or Texas Roadhouse, or maybe the Moot House, or some fantastic steak place, that'd be really nice to have a dinner sponsor. But since we're not going to get a dinner sponsor, let's just move on. We've got some events. Oh, wait, no. Giveaways. Hold on. I'm trying to read my list and chicken scratch writing. Giveaways. So apparently we're giving away an alternator tonight. Is it alternator? Alternator. So we're giving away an alternator tonight, and it's a Mechman alternator, and apparently this is a pretty, I can't say what I was going to say. It's a pretty stout alternator, and in fact, we had a page on that, Ernie. Didn't we have a page that talked about that alternator? Yeah, Ernie, would you pull up my laptop? I want to show this alternator. There, yes, that. So that's the alternator, and it's not actually going to be pink or orange or yellow. It's going to be gold. This is a gold-plated alternator. So this is pretty amazing. In fact, at dinner tonight, JW was saying that he would like to get one for himself. It doesn't have to be gold-plated, but he would like to put one in his own ride. So we'll see if we can make that happen, Mr. Mechman. So we'll come back to that, but that's later tonight. So of course you got to hang out for that because that is the closer of the show. And we're going to bring on, I believe the guy's name is Tony. We're going to bring Tony on later tonight to actually do the giveaway. So please hang around for that because if you're the winner, you're going to want to know about that. Pretty awesome prize. In addition, we have tonight's giveaways. So just for showing up and hanging out with us, you can enter, of course, to win. And I'm sure you all know how to enter to win. It's, hey, Bill, it's giveaways, right? Kicker.com. UnMasked UM Weekly, kicker/UM Weekly to enter for the prizes. And tonight we've got Cush NC Bluetooth headphones. NC, of course, is noise canceling. Those are the ones that you put them on. So if you've got a wife or a girlfriend or maybe a husband and you just don't want to listen to them anymore, put on the... You can't hear them anyway. It's fantastic. First place also gets a Kicker koozie, of course, to hold the beverage of your choice, and a limited edition Kicker Unmasked Live t-shirt. And I was thinking about this earlier. We've given away probably more than 100 t-shirts. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be awesome if some of the guys and girls that won our t-shirts put on that t-shirt and posed next to your ride, your build, your system, whatever you've got, and send us a picture of that? How cool would that be? So send those to Bill Frog, and we would love to see those pictures of you wearing your Kicker Unmasked limited edition t-shirt with your ride, with your build, with your Kicker system. Send that to us so we can post some of those pictures. Second place winner is a set of Tabor 2 wireless headphones, plus the koozie and another t-shirt. So we're going to like to see a picture of that t-shirt on you as well. And third, the EB400 wireless earbuds. I had given my mom 2 sets of the EB400 wireless earbuds, and she manages to lose both of them. So thank you, Mom. You're not getting any more EB400 wireless earbuds. But third place, you also get, of course, a koozie and an Unmasked t-shirt. So that's what we're giving away tonight. Please sign up. I think that contest shuts down about 8:30. So you've got till 8:30 to sign up for that contest. So please do that. What else we got here? Events. We've got some events to talk about. So, yes, Ernie, thank you. Clicking over there. Speaking of events, we just did this event I mentioned a little earlier, MIRA, Mobile Electronics Retailers Association. Now, it's not really a consumer-based show. This is more for retailers and manufacturers. And MIRA Knowledge Fest is what it's called. So Knowledge Fest, of course, what it is, it's all about training. So if you go to a professional shop and you ask them to take your hard-earned money and install a Kicker system, you have a certain expectation of the quality of work that's going to be done. Well, that's what Knowledge Fest is all about, is we set up trainings and we educate our retail partners, their install techs, their salespeople, store owners, whoever it is that wants to show up. We educate them on the latest product, techniques, installation things. We also had a huge product display at MIRA. So JW and the team, oh yeah, there's some pictures, that's great. So we brought, I would say, maybe 70% of the products that we offer, and we had them set up on those shelves you see there, all those displays. And so we filled our space, we filled our booth with all these products. And it's like a Kicker store, going into a Kicker-only store. Fantastic experience. And you'll notice also we had that Fiat there, that Fiat 500. That has not one, not two, but three high-quality demonstrations of Kicker product in it. So you've actually seen this Fiat sitting here for a while. And so the 3 demos, the first demo is a Key 200.4. That's our 4-channel Key DSP amplifier. And that's hooked up to our KSMT mid-tweet pods up on the dash. And then we've got KS series mid-range drivers in the front doors. So we've got those set up bi-amped. Bi-amp, of course, means 2 channels running the pods, 2 channels running the mid-range drivers. And then we've got this little demo switch where we can turn on and off the DSP. Now, you're wondering, why would you ever turn it off? Well, think about it. If you go to a shop and you give them your hard-earned money and they put in a system for you, if they can demonstrate what that system is capable of doing before you leave the store, you can have a great experience. So you get into this car and I play you some nice music, and after about 15 or 20 seconds, I hit the button and it turns off the DSP. And what you hear is this beautiful soundstage suddenly collapses to the floor. So all the music goes from here where it should be down to the floor where it should not be. I turn it back on, bam, it all comes back up again. And that's what the DSP does. Very powerful demonstration. The second demo is the Key 500.1, which is also the Key family technology, but now it's a subwoofer only amplifier. So it has a similar function where we have an on-off switch. And so I've got this demo again. Now, the factory installed system in this car, this Fiat, it doesn't have any low bass. The low bass is rolled off through the source unit, the radio, because the manufacturer is protecting their small door speakers from too much low bass. That's how you get your 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. You can't blow up the speakers because there's no bass there. So if you didn't know that and you put a quad box in the car and you put a 2400.1 in the car, you would never actually get really low, deep bass, which is what you're expecting, of course, from that setup. But how do you know that? Well, you don't unless you go to a shop that really knows what they're doing. So this Key 500.1, it analyzes the incoming signal from the source unit, and it takes that signal and says, hey, look, there's this little bump in the mid bass, and then there's this sharp roll off of the sub bass. So it sees that, it pulls down the bump, and it brings up the sub bass to give you a flat, linear response. Then it sends that signal out to your quad box. So now you get real, deep, powerful bass, which you wouldn't have got if you didn't have the Key technology. So that's the second demo. Of course, the third demo, I gave it away as a quad box. Now, the quad box can be played with the Key 500.1, and it's shockingly powerful because you think about the sensitivity, the high sensitivity, the efficiency, if you will, of this quad box. It has huge output from minimal power. So we can play this Key 501 into this quad box, and it's a pretty good demo. But then we have what Tim Smith calls the gravy box. And the gravy box has a switch on it. It's actually labeled gravy. And the one switch position is some of it. The other position is all of it. So some of the gravy is the Key 501 powering the quad box. All of the gravy is a KX2401 powering the quad box. So when you turn that thing on, ba-boom! Suddenly you're getting blown around the car like you're in a washing machine. So that's pretty awesome. So that was our setup for the Key demonstration at Mira Knowledge Fest in Indianapolis. John, I hope you're watching. I hope you're feeling better tonight. I'm sorry you're not here. We also have a Bass Wars coming up at Innovative Designs in Lafayette, Sunday at 11 a.m. So if you're in the Lafayette area, please check out Bass Wars. And then Saturday, April 16th, I think that's the 2 weekends away, Twisted Audio Creations in Kansas City. They're going to have a Bass Wars event. So there's a couple of upcoming events for you. Another event that is really close to our hearts here at Kicker is Desert Storm at Lake Havasu. The Desert Storm event is unreal. It's a boating event, so not so much a car stereo event, but it is a boating event. And if you think you can go crazy in a car audio build, these boats, unreal builds. Holy cow. And we're going to show you some more of that tonight. Of course, this is the Marine edition of UnMasked, so we're going to do a lot of discussion of Marine. And we're going to bring on a real awesome boat builder from Lake Havasu. He's been one of our partners for many years, and we're going to show you some of his boat builds, his personal boat, and some he's done for other people as well. But Lake Havasu, and oh yeah, we do have a page about Lake Havasu. Let's pull that up real quick. So one of the real popular events at Lake Havasu is the Storm Poker Runs. And the Storm Poker Runs, if you've never done one of these, basically you take your boat and you take some beer and you take all the people you can fit in your boat, and you go from port to port, bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant, stopping point to stopping point all over Lake Havasu. And you go there, and of course you drink some more beer and you gamble a hand or two of poker, and then you take off to the next one. So it's basically a boating and drinking event that goes on all day, all night, and for several days really. But the big one to go to is the Storm Poker Runs at Lake Havasu. Now, Storm Poker Runs, they do other events as well, but this is really the biggie for the year. So that's an event that we're going to be attending this year, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think JW is going to be there. Lauren, you met Lauren, I think it was last week you met Lauren, crazy wide-eyed guy with the crazy hair. He actually lives in Lake Havasu, and so he'll probably be attending that event on our behalf. And we've got a great couple of kicker boats there too. So we're going to show you some of those in a little bit. But one more event I want to talk about, SkillsUSA. SkillsUSA is an organization that I just recently became aware of. And SkillsUSA works primarily with high school students and junior college or trade school students. And what they do is they give you a context, a framework for taking your skilled trade and competing on a national level. So they've got 107 different categories in the SkillsUSA organization. And one of those is mobile electronics. So of course, car stereo, that's what we care most about. So that's just one of the 107 of these skills, skill trades and competition. And so SkillsUSA reached out through a trade magazine a few months ago, and they said, hey, we're running out of funding for this competition. And so they weren't really asking for money, but quite a few companies in the industry, Kicker included, we responded and said, hey, this is a great organization. We want to be a part of this. So what do you need? What resources do you need? And so a bunch of us in the car audio community got together, donated a bunch of money, and so now they're going to be able to run this contest for another 4 or 5 years. And in addition to just adding money, my team, the Kicker Tech Force, we are actually going to go to the local event in Tulsa, Oklahoma later this month, and we're going to check out the event for the first time. And then in June, we're actually going to go to Atlanta where they have their U.S. finals. So there's going to be over 6,000 students coming together, and of course we're concerned with mostly the car audio division. But out of these 6,000 kids, there's going to be some of them in the car audio, and Ken and I, Ken Bundy, one of the Tech Force, we're actually going to be down there. We're going to do the judging for the contest. So we're going to show up, we're going to bring money, we're going to bring prizes, we're going to bring things to give away, and of course we're going to help educate, help judge these competitors. And the best part about all this is the next generation of car audio specialists can come out of this program. So if this is something that interests you, I tell you, go to skillsusa.org, skillsusa.org, and check out what they have to offer. They've got chapters all over the country, and if you're interested in getting into the car audio world, perhaps this is a good way to get started. So check that out. Let's look at some photos. We've got some installation photos that are kind of fun to look at. I think these came to us this week. I don't know exact details on how they got to us, but Bill Frog gives these to me tonight to show off. And what we're looking at here is Dave Martin. Dave Martin, thank you very much for this. And there's no description, but I think this is 6 CVR12s. I think it's 6 CVR12s. And what a fantastic build. I mean, look, he's got these nice massive ports, and I'm sure he's got a single massive chamber, and I'm expecting that he's certainly braced the internals of this. And I'm guessing it's a pretty powerful ground pounder. And by looking at the dash, I'm thinking it's probably a Jeep, maybe a Jeep Compass or something similar to that. It looks like there's actually a factory installed subwoofer over here, but I'm sure that he took that out and used that space for amps or something. So that's a fantastic build. Thank you, Dave Martin. We appreciate you sending that to us. The next one I want to share with you, this is kind of a unique situation. This looks like a side-by-side, perhaps an RZR. And this is, if you can't tell by the shot, this is an overhead type setup where when you're sitting in the side-by-side, so you've got your seat right here and another seat here, above your head is this headliner. And there are 8, what appears to be 6.5 inch of our KM speakers. So 6.5 KM speakers. And then in the middle, what do you think that is? I'm guessing it's a CVT-10. A CVT-10. So he must have fabricated a wicked enclosure in this headliner to get enough airspace for that CVT-10 to downfire like that. Back in the shop, you guys met Aaron Surratt a few weeks ago on the show. Aaron Surratt was toying with something similar to this, only using our L7T, the thin 10-inch square woofers. And he had something set up like this. So there's some pretty neat ideas out there. The next build I want to share with you, oh, I'm sorry, that was Steve Kelly. Steve Kelly, thank you very much for that build shot. Appreciate that. And the final one is Peyton Ham. Peyton Ham, this is, again, we don't know what vehicle this is, but it looks like it's probably behind the rear seat of a pickup. And those are definitely Q Series L7, I'm going to say 12s in order to get them to fit like that. L7 12s. We can't tell what the amplifier complement is, but it's certainly a beautiful install. And it looks like it's probably a sealed enclosure, which would make sense with 4 of them in there. But what an incredible build that is. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Peyton Ham. That is a beautiful install, and we'd like to see more of your pictures. So ladies and gentlemen, please send us your photos of your builds. And if you're wearing your cool Unmasked t-shirt, that'd be an added bonus. Let's take these pictures off here. Close, close. Excuse me just a moment. When you talk a lot, you got to drink a lot of water. Whew. So next up, we are going to talk about, oh, this is a little bit sad. So Kevin Campbell, who has been the director of marketing at Kicker for, 18 years, is retiring tomorrow. Or no, today's Tuesday, Thursday. In 2 days, he's retiring. Kevin Campbell is literally a legend in the car audio business. Some of the companies he's been with before Kicker, he was at Rockford, he was at Precision Power PPI, the original PPI. He was at Phase Audio, which was, my understanding is sort of an offshoot of PPI. There were some engineers that wanted to do something a little bit different, so they started Phase Audio. Kevin went with them. And if I remember correctly, it was actually using vacuum tubes. So pretty cool stuff. So Kevin was involved with that. And also he was with Morel USA. If you're not familiar with Morel, Morel is a higher end speaker company. They built some really nice car audio products. They also do some home audio products. Really, really nice sounding stuff. So we're going to be saying goodbye to Kevin on Thursday. We're having a little party here for him at 1 o'clock. And Kevin, if you've ever met Kevin or you've seen him on the show here, he's an incredibly funny man. He's incredibly humble. And he's got stories for days. The guy has met, seen, and done more than most people will do in a collective lifetime. And he's done that just in his 18 years here at Kicker. But the man is unbelievable. And personally, I'm going to miss the guy. 2, maybe sometimes 3 times a week, he will actually send out a little a PowerPoint with a bunch of images, some industry news, some Kicker news, and just some great images of cool cars and even some sunsets. And he does this a couple of times, 3 times a week. He sends out these slideshows to everybody in the company. And the guy's amazing. He's always thinking about what's the next thing. And he's been behind some of our greatest ideas here at Kicker. So he's going to be missed. So Kevin, I hope you're watching tonight. My friend, I'm going to miss you personally. We're going to miss you professionally. And here's a big air hug for you. And I'll see you on Thursday at your party. So let's move on. Oh, tech support questions. So we get, as I'm sure you're aware, we get a ton of tech support questions. And Jacob Lucky is one of the guys that works in our tech support. And he sent me some questions that came up this week. Now, this is just this week. Last time I checked in, we got 4 guys in tech, excuse me, 4, I can count, 4 guys in tech support, and each of them gets about 90 emails and phone calls per day. A combination of emails and phone calls, 90 per day per guy. Can you imagine? That is so much. Now, of course, some of them are simple questions. What fuse do I use for this amp? But some of them are like what I'm going to read you. So this gentleman said, I have the KMC2, which is one of our marine source units, KMC2, and he's got 4 of our 6.5-inch marine speakers, 1 in each corner of his boat. So it's a smaller boat. He's got 1 in each corner. And there's a sound level difference between the left side of the boat and the right side of the boat. The left side is quite a bit louder than the right. I've checked the settings in the head unit, so we checked the balance and the fader, bass, treble, all that stuff, and he said it's dead center. So in theory, the left and right should be identical volume. Is there anything else I can try to make the sound level consistent across all the speakers? Well, there's a couple of things that come to mind. First of all, he mentioned the tone controls, the bass and treble balance fader. That's the first thing I would have thought of, is perhaps it got set off balance. But since he already checked that, another thing is to check the polarity of the speakers. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, if you've got a speaker here and a speaker here, and they're wired out of phase, they're actually canceling each other as they move, because they are out of phase. So if those speakers are out of phase, it's not going to sound like it should. There absolutely be no mid-bass, sub-bass response, and it could affect how it sounds in that boat. So I would check to make sure that all the speakers are in phase. That's the first thing. I would also check to see if maybe there is some sort of physical restriction, like perhaps in these speakers on this side, there's this large cavity, so there's a lot of airspace to get nice output, deep bass response. But on this side, maybe the speakers are restricted, so they just can't play nearly as loud. So I would check that. And because it's both on the left are playing louder than both on the right, that's one of the things that first came to mind, or I guess second came to mind, is to check that. So that's a pretty common question. Another question here is this gentleman purchased 2 sets of KS component speakers. So he's got the component speakers, the separate mid, separate tweet. He's got 2 sets of these. He's going to use the front components as a component setup, the separate mid and tweet, but in the rear he's going to do a coax mount. So what that means is he's going to take the tweeter and he's going to mount it on top of the coax so that he gets the benefits of a component speaker but in the package of a coax. So he's going to put that in the rear. He's still in the process of gathering all that he needs for the install, and he's wondering about the gauge of speaker wire that he should use. 16 gauge, 14 gauge, 12 gauge, and he's going to use an amp that's about 100 watts per channel RMS for each one. So speaker wire, the easy way to figure this out is just go into the internet and type in, I've got this much power and I'm going to go this distance with speaker wire, and it'll tell you what kind of gauge you need. Now, as a rule of thumb, 12 gauge. You'll never be sorry that you used too large a gauge wire. I mean, in all things, you're always going to want a larger gauge. So I would go with the 12 gauge. 16 gauge would be okay, but 12 would be better, so go bigger if you can. And again, what you're talking about is just resistance. It's resistance over the distance. And so go with the 12 gauge if that's in the budget. If it's not, the 16 will be fine, but I'd always go larger if you can. Third question I wanted to share with you guys tonight is this gentleman is building a blow-through with 3 L712s. So he wants to do a blow-through, 3 L712s. He wants to do a 4th order enclosure, and he's wondering if the L712s would work well in that enclosure. Yes, they will work well in that enclosure. And he wants to build one, I'm trying to read this, it's a little bit challenging, 2-in-1 box interior volume. So basically the answer is yes, it'll work fine. So what he's talking about doing is he's going to have the enclosure in the bed of the pickup, and the woofers are all going to be inside the enclosure, and they're going to be ported, or they're going to be breathing through one port, or maybe he'll have 2, but essentially he's going to port one side of this enclosure, and that port's going to go right through the bed of the truck into the cab of the pickup. And the beauty of this is all the acoustic energy is being forced and focused into the cab of the truck. So it is going to be thunderously loud. It's going to be an awesome build. Now, when you're done with it, I don't have your name on here. I'm sorry, I hope you're watching, because when you're done with it, we would love to see some build pictures, some before, during, and after pictures. And if you do that, if you can show us that, of course, we'll send you a t-shirt, because I want to see how this thing rocks. So those are some common questions we get here at Tech Support. Thank you, Jacob. I hope you're watching. I appreciate you putting those together for me tonight, especially on short notice. As I mentioned earlier, John and I were in Indianapolis yesterday. We both got home late last night, and here we are tonight. Well, here I am tonight doing the show, and it's an honor to be here with you guys and girls. Speaking of girls, do we have any girls with us? I never see any girls in the feed. Of course, you're all using pseudonyms, so I don't know who you are, but... Got a few? Okay, good. Thank you, ladies. When I'm doing trainings, I always say, guys, bring some girls into our industry. Please, we need more women in our industry. Please, bring more women. But we do have a question. So, yeah, we've got a question. You want to throw that up real quick? I just saw that. Is the Key 204 stable enough to handle 3 ohm speakers? Also, question, we sell a lot of kicker... thank you, Comp RTs, sorry, jet lag. Comp RTs, subwoofers, use the right amp set gains with a DD1, but have a problem where they keep blowing. Keep blowing them. Let's talk about the Key 204 first. 3 ohm speakers, yes, it'll be fine. The amplifier is designed for 4 ohm speakers all the way around. It is not bridgeable, and it's designed for a 4 ohm load. 3 ohm speaker, it's going to be fine. As you'll notice, certainly when you're using the correct high-pass filters, the impedance curve of a speaker, when it's actually under load, when it's doing its job creating music, the impedance rarely is going to dip below that 3 ohms, that 4 ohms anyway. So it's going to be fine. So don't worry. Thank you for that question. It's good. We've actually run a few less than 4 ohms just to test them, and it's fine. But we want to manage the expectations, so they're designed for a 4 ohm load. Why are you blowing comp RTs? Now, this question has so many possible answers. And without being there and seeing what's going on, it's really hard to know. If you are properly setting gains, then it's possible you're simply running too much power. Now, if a comp RT, let's say it's rated for 500 watts, and you're putting a true 1,000 watts into it, well, obviously that's just too much heat in the voice quality. It's too hot. Even with music, if you're playing twice the rated power, that's going to be a challenge for that subwoofer. Now, even if you've got the amplifier gain set properly, another thing to consider is when that gain is set properly, normally the way we do that is the bass is at 0, treble's at 0, loudness is off, any bass boost is turned off. So basically everything is a flat signal going into that amplifier. Now, if you or your customer turns the bass knob all the way up, turns the bass on the radio all the way up, turns on the loudness circuit, turns on the bump EQ or whatever it's called, if you turn on all that stuff, that what was a clean signal going into the subwoofers, it's now going to be clipped. And if you take an oscilloscope and you look at the output of that amplifier and you do what I just said with all those controls, you will see that it's getting clipped terribly. Now, a quick, simple way to check this is the way the amplifier is set up, the way this radio is set up, take a multimeter and put it on AC voltage, put a sine wave in, probably 40 hertz, get it on our website, a 40 hertz sine wave, and play it into that source unit and turn the volume all the way up. And look at the voltage. Now, that's not going to show you if it's clipped or not, but if that voltage, refer to our voltage chart, if that voltage tells you that you're way overpowering that subwoofer, that is in fact the cause of the damage. So even without an oscilloscope, you can see if that amplifier is putting out too much voltage, which of course turns into heat in the voice coil. So that's how you're going to want to check that out. Great question. Thank you very much for that. Do we have another question, or was that it? That's it? Okay. All right, so let's move on then. What time? Oh my gosh, we're 8 o'clock already. All right, well, this is a great time. Oh, like and subscribe. Before I forget, like and subscribe. If you want to keep watching us, you want to tell us that we're doing a great job, please like us and subscribe to us so we can continue to build the community. Now, we're going to bring on our guest. His name is Jeff. I'm going to let him say his last name because I tried to say it earlier and I called him something incorrect. So Jeff, and again, Jeff is a big kicker supporter. He lives in Lake Havasu. He is a boat builder aficionado. This guy has built some incredible systems, which we're going to show you a couple of them tonight. And so Jeff is in the waiting room, and let's go ahead and bring Jeff in. Jeff, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Wonderful, and you can hear us, and I can hear you, so that's great. We're headed the right direction. So first of all, can you show off your T-shirt? You've got a great kicker T-shirt on there. Look at that, Kicker Moto Sound. Thank you for showing that off. That's a great design. I don't think that one's even available anymore, but that's a great design. So Jeff, I gave a brief introduction, and it's not nearly enough for what you've been doing for the last 30 years. But so can you tell us just real quick, what is this event, Desert Storm Lake Havasu? What's it all about, and why should people want to go to that?
Well, it starts as a poker run officially, but we have a show, a party on the main street in Lake Havasu, where everybody displays the boat. The kicker's big supporters, so they have a big booth there and whatnot. But it's a street fair, street party that starts on Thursday. But we also have a thing called Cruising for a Cause, which we give children and whatnot rides on boats on a Wednesday.
Nice.
And then the poker run goes into Saturday. But it's a week-long affair, so a lot of people turn up, a lot of big boats, a lot of expensive boats, so it's a great time.
So it's a party atmosphere on the water, and of course that's perfect for the living loud lifestyle.
Right.
We have this great tagline for our Marine Division, "Go overboard," and that's pretty perfect too, because what do you want to do? You want to go overboard with your system. I mean, not literally, but and some of your systems that you've built are pretty much overboard too. So a lot of folks watching us, and we'll watch this later, they want to know, how does a guy get to your level? I mean, you are it when it comes to boat builds for audio systems. How does somebody go to your level?
Many years. I started with a 1985 Ford Escort and some, hand-me-down equipment, and just started learning and basically self-taught, and then I got accepted as a helper at a stereo shop, years ago when I was in high school. And it's just, you have to have the passion for it.
Yes.
And it's just learn as much as you can from anybody that wants to teach you. I mean, there's still stuff that I don't know that,
Sure.
I learn all the time from a lot of the people in the business. But yeah, it's just a lot of work. And I don't do cars anymore. I don't do cars. I don't do really side-by-sides, razors, or anything. I've moved it to boats only now. It's just, I'm tired of the rest of the stuff. And the boats out here, it's a big boat market. So, and there's a lot of differences in boats than there is in vehicles and whatnot. Just the demand and the beating that they take on the water. Everything has to be waterproofed. Everything has to be through bolted. Everything has to be, resin coated. There's a lot of differences, and we don't use MDF. If MDF gets wet, it falls apart, deteriorates. Everything has to be multi-layered plywood or birch, and then it has to be resin coated. But all our materials, the same thing, stainless hardware, everything's just a little bit higher end installs for the marine application. Plus,
you bring up I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, plus battery power and whatnot. When you're in a vehicle, you don't drive your vehicle for 8 hours a day all weekend at full volume. Here, we park the boats and they run for 8 hours on a weekend. And it just, a lot of times we'll have a generator and multiple batteries just to keep up. But that system takes a beating every single weekend. For hours, a day, 8 hours. My system will run for 8-10 hours a day at near full volume. So
that's incredible.
A lot of heat, a lot of different stuff that takes place that, you don't drive in your car on the way to work. You drive for 45 minutes at the most or whatnot. You're not in the morning, you're not blaring your stereo. But on a boat, you want that. A lot of it is the party is outside the boat.
Sure.
So you want it to be loud. It's not so much time correction and whatnot like that and superior sound quality. It's how long can it play? How good can it sound outside the boat? And how do you get bass outside the boat?
Yes. So it's funny you say bass outside the boat because it's such a challenge. I mean, you talk to a sound technician who does pro sound concerts and things of that nature, and to get impactful deep bass at great distances with no boundary, that's really a challenge. So how do you address that in your boat builds?
Everything's ported. Everything has to be ported. It has to be super rigid. A lot of power, a lot of woofers. Actually, I was invited this year to SEMA from you guys and Steve Barber, and I was actually grouped with the bass part of it, because that's how much bass that boat actually has. It's 415s imported enclosures. It's 14 cubic feet, and there's two comp Q12s that are in 7 cubic feet, and there's close to 11,000 watts in just bass.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yep. There's a 1600 one for each woofer. And there's 6 woofers. So.
So these pictures we're seeing here real quick, can you tell us about these pictures?
I cut the floor out of the boat. So underneath where the driver's seat mounted, I cut the floor, and in the sponson, all that airspace, I built 3 separate enclosures that drop down in, and then one slid to the right, one slid to the left, and then the middle one dropped in. They were all bolted and sealed together, and then bolted to the subfloor. Then I built a base for my seat to sit in. That was the mounting part for the 2 12-inch woofers, and then the port and whatnot. And then that was all, sanded, marglass, waterproofed, resined, and then it was gel coated. So it's not painted. It's actually the gel coat that matches the boat. but that's I think it was close to it's 6 or 7 cubic feet of airspace in there, but I didn't lose a single space in the boat.
Yeah.
Which is, that's part of the thing in a boat is building stuff into where, you don't have the room to do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's excessive. That, I did that a couple times. I cut the floor out in the boat, but I'll cut anybody's boat. It's a glass of wood. You cut it, fill it. It's not the worst thing. But that sub enclosure actually is sealed to each other. So there's 2 enclosures and then the seat, and that seat bolts down to the base part there. So
there's a gasket there we're looking at. Yeah.
Yep. So there's a gasket that's there, and then it's all RGB lighting and whatnot.
Wow.
But you don't lose any airspace. So I basically got rid of the single pedestal that's there.
Okay.
And built a sub enclosure, but didn't lose any room.
That's amazing. So if somebody doesn't know what you've built for a sub enclosure on your boat, they're looking at going, how are you getting all this base? Because I don't even see anything.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you don't even realize it's in there, in that boat. Actually, in a lot of the boats that we've done, it has to be built into the boat. I just did a boat, actually a boat partially for you guys, that we pulled the refrigerator out because out here it's 126 degrees. So if you put a 12-volt refrigerator in a boat, it doesn't work all that good.
Useless.
So I pulled the refrigerator out and put L7Q in that. And a lot of the times I'll build a 3 or 4 piece enclosure because the enclosure itself is too big to get in the area that has to be. So I have to build an enclosure for one corner, and then an enclosure that fits in the area, then an enclosure in front of that, because the opening isn't big enough to put the enclosure together. So we have to put it in the boat and then bolt it together, and they all have windows that you see through. But that's not even that uncommon. I mean, not for the stuff that we do out here. There's a lot of people
incredible.
That do it, but yeah, it's a lot of work to get base in a boat. That's real base.
Now, this is a tough question to answer, but what's an average build time on a boat that you personally work on? How much time are you investing on someone's behalf to give them this kind of a system?
It can be, average probably 2 weeks.
Wow, 2 weeks, okay.
Either 1 week to a month, but depends. But we've had boats that we did that, they just leave them there 6 weeks or whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get into 10, 12, 14 amplifiers in a boat and, 8 batteries and 10 runs of zero gauge, you got to think of the SPL guys.
Yes.
The way they build their vehicles is what we have to do in a boat.
Yeah.
Because we need the power. I have 12 runs of zero gauge in my boat and 130 pound batteries that still it's enough, but it could use more. I've been working with Brady and Sean over at Excess Power to try and figure out a way to do lithium batteries in it. Because I have 700 pounds of battery.
God.
And I'd like to get rid of the 700 pounds and replace it with the lithium and whatnot. So we're pretty close to maybe, finding a way to make that happen and do it. Because my boat's a little different. It's always going to run on a generator. It plays, it goes to a lot of shows. It plays for, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's just part of what it is. And honestly, there's a lot of boats out here that have generators or people, they just put, a Honda, Predator, whatever, plug it in, run a power supply, because what is going to run your batteries for 6 hours? You have to charge them. It's not the motor. An alternator can't charge. My system draws probably right around 1,000 or more amps continuously.
That's just mind-blowing.
I have 5 300 amp circuit breakers in there, and I can almost pop them on demand with my volume knob.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's the biggest problem is heat out here. It's 125 degrees. So, we've actually figured out. I put fans on a lot of stuff. We build them in amplifiers or whatnot, but little 2-inch fans, and actually I take the KX amps apart, and I have a 2-inch fan, drill a hole in one end of the cap and a fan right in the end of the amplifier. It pulls the air directly through. It's the most efficient way to do it, but they never have a problem.
Yeah.
When you have the 1600 ones, if they run 1 ohm, don't run them at 1 ohm. Run them at 2 ohms, and don't go below that threshold, because the heat out here is just brutal. So
this is a great thing you bring up, Jeff, because obviously there's a lot of discussion about 1 ohm, 2 ohm, 4 ohm, and you're bringing up an excellent point. In a build like what you're doing, the ambient heat temperature is ridiculous. And now you're running your amplifier at 1 ohm, and that amplifier is already sitting at 126 degrees, and so it's just going to start jumping off the rails when it comes to heat. So yeah, the higher impedances. It also reduces the heat on your voice coils, which of course, cool voice coil is a happy voice coil. So thanks for bringing that up. I also want to talk to you briefly about subsonic filters. You must be an expert with subsonic filters with these large ported enclosures you're working with.
In my personal boat, they're off.
What? Really?
They're off.
Impressive.
I run a 1600 one per 15-inch woofer, and the biggest problem with the boat is getting battery voltage to it, but it never, and it runs, those woofers will run, a 15 ported set up right, it should play down to, I want it to play down to 20 to 28, because it's that boat's set up to be like an SPL boat. If you could put a mic somewhere, you have to have a lot of bass in the boat to get that bass out of the boat.
Yeah,
and
right.
Here,
to carry.
You've never been to Lake Havasu, but the bass in that boat we have a thing. It's called the channel. You can hear and basically feel that boat most of the length of the channel, and it'll vibrate. I can bounce quarters off of a boat that's 3 boats down. I can put a quarter on my jet boat. He's got a bubble deck, and we can put a quarter on his boat and bounce it. We can flip it.
Yeah,
and
that's incredible.
That takes a lot in a boat. Like we do, we know the hair tricks. We've all been doing the hair tricks in the vehicles and whatnot. It's not that it's that easy, but it's easier when you're in the vehicle.
Yes, yes.
And 3 boats down. Plus, we have ambient noise. When you're parked, we have wind noise. We have, constant boats going by, loud noises to overcome. So no matter how loud your system is in a shop or whatnot, it's never the same. Like I do systems, we do them, in the shop, and I'm like, God, this is so loud. It's, it's going to be great. And when you're on the lake, it still sounds great, but it's not as loud. When I go for a period with not listening to our boat, like we had the motor out and did a bunch of maintenance to it, for a few months this year after SEMA. And I was like, God, all these boats I'm doing are really, really loud. Then you get to the point where we started using our boat again, get it all back together, and we had a meetup last Saturday, and you don't realize what loud is.
Yeah.
When we have earphones, ear mics, muffs, or whatever, the gun ones that we give people, and my daughter drives around with her, pink ear muffs. She doesn't go deaf. But the boat, it's completely different.
I bet your daughter is the coolest kid at her school because her dad has got the best boat.
She drives it. She's 5 and she's learning to drive it.
She's 5?
She's 5 and she's learning to drive it.
Oh, that's fantastic. My daughter's 4.5, and she now envies your daughter.
Well, we put on the chicken song and the what's that, Baby Shark and all that.
Baby Shark. No,
watch the people for 15 boats in either direction. All the kids pick up and they all come down. It's a really good time. It's
that's awesome.
People embrace that boat more than they dislike it. I mean, there's always the person like, oh, here comes that guy or whatever. But for the most part, everybody likes to be around it. It actually is the party boat. It's not, we get a lot of people that congregate around it and whatnot in the summer. And I have the Blackstone grills, and we're on the lake and the water grilling tomahawks, giving out food and whatnot. So
that's great. I hope I can do that event some year. My gosh.
Yeah, we're trying to get John to come here.
That's right.
I was talking to him, and we're like, come. I'll tell you what, I have a catastrophic problem with a couple of boats, and I need you to come help me with them.
Oh, so you want to put John to work?
No, I just want to get him here. We'll just tell everybody that I need his help.
Well, John would enjoy that experience, and John cannot stop working. So if you mention that there's a boat with a problem, he will go fix it day or night. He doesn't care. He will be there. So that's great. That's great. Well, hey, we've got a question. Before you and I end our time together, I want to go to that question up there. Let's see, what do we got here? If you have a sub that handles 600 watts max, can you run a 600 watt amp on it without damaging it? Now remember, max power is like when lightning strikes, or it's a number that's just sort of fabricated, shall we say. If the amplifier puts out 600 watts RMS and you've got a 600 watt max woofer, you might have a problem. Now, this doesn't mean you can't do it. Remember a couple of months ago we talked about proper gain setting. If you take that 600 watt RMS amplifier, you can actually set it up to play 300 watts RMS and have plenty of dynamic headroom. So you could in fact use that 600 watt amplifier on, let's say, a 300 watt RMS sub, as long as you properly adjust the gain so you don't overpower the subwoofer. Now, you can also go with quite a bit more power than rated in some instances if you're listening to music. Now, we all know test tones, and we all know there's music like dubstep that is just remixed bass, 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 and that will tax a voice coil that's running too much power. So you definitely want to make sure you know what kind of music you're listening to, the kind of enclosure you're talking about. As Jeff mentioned, ported enclosures, biggest bang for the buck in a ported enclosure. But if that subwoofer is truly a 300 watt RMS and you've got a 600 watt amplifier, make sure you properly adjust the gains for that speaker. Thank you for the question, Marcus. Appreciate that.
You're better off giving more power and keeping the gain down than running 200 watts to a woofer. I mean, put a 1,000 watt amp on it, just keep the gain down and set the crossover right. Then everything will run better. It'll never have a problem. It's just the gain. It's that one little knob that does everything.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yeah, and you use a lot of KXA, KXMA amplifiers, so you're really familiar with our gain match knob, that light up knob.
Yeah, it's super easy. Super easy.
Oh, that's great. Great.
Set the volume knob, and then you can do it with the light and whatnot.
Good.
So,
well, thank you, Jeff.
I have all 1200, all the KX line. I have the 1200 twos and 1600 ones that runs the entire system. 14 of them.
So when you place an order, you get a pallet full of kicker gear.
Yeah, well, Jeremy just brings it in the semi at Desert Storm.
Oh, Jeremy, nice job. Hand delivered by Jeremy.
And then I'm friends with Lauren, so he lives here with us. So
yeah.
He can be the shuttle service.
Lauren is a fantastic asset for Kicker and a good friend to all. He's amazing. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for sharing some of your wisdom with us. And we look forward to seeing you in Lake Havasu.
Yeah, definitely. Just a couple more weeks.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Well, that was great to have Jeff on the show. Man, I'm glad that John is not feeling great tonight, because that gave me an opportunity to talk to Jeff. And that's really the first time I've actually talked with Jeff. And so what an asset to Kicker and to the Lake Havasu community. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about some specific product stuff, Kicker Marine products. And I want to share with you a little bit of the evolution. Has Kicker always done everything right? No, we haven't. And in fact, I'm going to show you a couple of things that we didn't do right in full disclosure. Let me pull up this. Let's see. Ernie, can you show my laptop, please? We're going to call this the Marine Evolution. So we started out not as walking erect. We started out at the other end of the spectrum. So back in 2003, we launched our original Kicker Marine products. And we did what a lot of companies did, and some of them still do. We took our car stereo speakers, our car stereo subwoofers, and we simply gave them a white coat of paint, put on a white grill, and then put them in a white box and called them Marine. Well, here's a couple of problems. First of all, we used stamped steel baskets. Now, a stamped steel basket is great in a car audio environment, but when you add salt water to that, it just corrodes, pits, and falls apart. Exposed motor structure. That means we were able to actually get water and moisture down into the voice coil. Well, of course, if you get water in a voice coil, it's going to destroy that voice coil in no time. We used perforated steel grills, not stainless, but steel grills, which quickly just turn into rust and dust. And then cardstock terminals. The little thing where you put the positive and negative wires onto the speaker, we actually were using essentially cardboard. And of course, that cardboard absorbs water and falls apart. So that's what we did back in 2003. And to give you an idea of what happens to a speaker that's designed for car audio, but then you put it in a marine environment, that's what happens to it. You can see that corrosion, that rust, the thing just falls apart. So in 2006, we did a complete marine reboot. Mr. Phil White was brought on right around that time. And Phil White is, he's been with Kicker for a lot of years. He's a sound engineer. He's an acoustic engineer. He's a great guy with a lot of interests, and he basically took our marine lineup and said, okay, let's make it real marine. Let's create a real marine product. And a couple of the things we had to do was reduce the plain carbon steel, basically get rid of the carbon steel that you're using in your products. We want to cover and seal everything, so wherever there is something that could be corrosive, we want to cover that with plastic or poly or some way to protect it. We want to use composite materials, so plastic composite materials for the baskets and cover the motor structures. And of course, 316L, L for low carbon, stainless steel. Now, if you ever bought well, I'll show you that in just a minute. Let's go back to marinizing. So we had to marinize the speakers, and if you take a look at this image here, you'll notice that we have strain relief built into the speaker terminals. So instead of the wire yanking against the speaker terminals as the boat goes up and down, it's actually protected. So the wire itself is protected by that strain relief. You'll also notice the rubber gasket, all the composite materials, and of course the LED lighting. So this speaker is not just a car audio speaker that's covered in plastic. It's a complete redesign, rebuild. Continuing on with the marinizing, you'll notice that the tweeter is actually suspended above the cone, so there is no way that moisture can get down into the motor structure from the front of the speaker. It's completely sealed. We use what's called a co-molding process, where the surround and the speaker cone itself are put into the machine at the same time, and they're heat treated and molded together to become one piece. So there's not even any stitching required. It's completely water sealed. Again, you'll notice the strain relief for the wire that goes into the tweeter. And even this little tidbit here, this little detail, there's a little notch in the bottom of the speaker grill, and this is where water is allowed to run out of the speaker grill. So if there's water that is sprayed on the speaker, whether you're using a hose to clean it or maybe just spray from the ocean, that water is not allowed to pool on the speaker surface. It actually just runs out through that little cutout. So these are the little details that we took into consideration in marinizing and creating our real marine lineup. Now, earlier I mentioned 316L stainless steel. If you look on the left side here, you've got 304 stainless steel. 304 stainless steel is like, let's say you go to Walmart or Target and you buy a stainless steel rod to hold up your shower curtain. Well, 6 months or a year later, have you noticed that stainless steel is actually corroding? It's turning yellow and gold. That's because this 304 stainless. It's not the high quality. The 316L stainless steel, that's the stuff we're using. It's way more expensive, but when you're building a speaker like this with a heavy bracket like that, that's what you need. You need the 316L. So it's the good stuff and it never corrodes. To continue, we're using Santoprene surrounds. That's just UV stable, so it's not going to deteriorate and fall apart. Tinned oxygen-free copper wiring. Once again, it's not going to corrode and fall apart. And of course, UV stable finishes. We want the white to stay white and the black to stay black. So we have to use UV stable finishes in all of these products. So that's the basics of Real Marine. Ernie, go ahead and shut down the PowerPoint for just a minute, please. So when we talk about Real Marine, what we're talking about is what goes into designing a product that is U.S. Coast Guard compliant. So the U.S. Coast Guard sets a standard for boat safety, not just for the U.S., but other countries, like actually Canada has recently adopted the U.S. Coast Guard standards for audio products. And so the U.S. Coast Guard sets up all these standards, and then the American Boat and Yacht Council, ABYC, they take the U.S. Coast Guard guidelines and create a set of standards for boat builders. Now, we are members of ABYC, which means we must adhere to the ABYC standards, which is set by the Coast Guard. So all of our marine products are designed with the ABYC guidelines in mind. So everything that we offer you can also be offered to an OE boat builder. Now, when you go to original equipment boat builders, their set of standards is much, much higher than aftermarket standards. And so all of our products are built to this standard, which means as an end consumer, if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you want to design your own kicker system like Jeff, you can buy Kicker Marine products knowing that they are designed and built to the standards of the U.S. Coast Guard, but you can use them in your own builds. So that's why it's important to understand what ABYC is, and MMA as well, the National Marine Manufacturers Association. These are two governing bodies that we are affiliated with so that we are designing and building products to their standards. So let's talk about speakers real quick. Ernie, please go back to that PowerPoint. I want to show a couple of speaker installs here. Now, this is not quite as extreme as what Jeff builds, but you'll see here there's some of our 8-inch coax speakers along the bottom, and then we have our 12-inch it looks like a Comp R subwoofer. Now, the Comp R is not actually in our marine lineup, but as Jeff pointed out earlier, he likes L7 15s and 12s for his builds. So you can, in fact, use our L7 line of subwoofers in marine builds. They're not built to the exacting standards of ABYC, but they do work, because once they've been installed, the front of the speaker, the cone and the surround, all of that is completely watertight and waterproof. It's the backside that must be protected from the elements. But once you've built that enclosure and you've got it set up properly, there's no problem. Another couple of examples. Of course, all of our marine speakers, not all, the 6 and the 8-inch coaxes have LEDs in them. The 4 inches do not, just because of physical space, but the 6 and the 8s do have the LEDs built in. And when I first heard we were going to be doing LED speakers, I thought, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? That's going to look so cheesy. But after I saw them installed on a boat, I got it. Because on boating, LED lighting is just, well, it's everything. It's an incredible addition to the boat. And with our KMLC, our remote control, you can actually control the different colors of the LED lights. You can control the pulsing, the chasing, all those aspects of the LED lighting, up to 12 pairs with one remote control. So it's a lot of fun to have those LEDs on those. And we can never go back to non-LEDs now. It's just too popular. So subwoofers, as Jeff pointed out, subwoofers on boats, big deal. And as he was saying, in order to get real deep, thunderous sub bass in a boat, you've got to overbuild the system dramatically. And in this image you're seeing here our L712s. We actually make a separate grill, a marine grill with LEDs in it for the L7, because that's been very popular in the boat world. We do make a line of specific subwoofers for marine applications. And one of them is a free air design, a KMF. And as we were talking about with Jeff a little bit earlier, he uses all enclosures in his boats. He's not really doing free air. But a free air application is very common. If you look at this image here, this 12-inch driver is simply using the airspace of the cargo area as its enclosure. This is what we call free air. Like in the old days of car audio, it was really common for guys to take two 15 or even 18-inch subwoofers, put them in a baffle board, and then push that baffle board up against the back of a seat through a trunk, and you would actually use the trunk as the enclosure, firing those woofers through the back seat of the car. And that's what we call free air. So that in boats is very common, because if you're not going to a boat builder like Jeff, and maybe you're doing it yourself, or you're going to a much less extreme build, you might be using a free air subwoofer in that application. Now, what's important to understand is a free air woofer has a different compliance, a different suspension than a traditional woofer. It's much stiffer, because a normal subwoofer is using the back pressure of the enclosure to help control the movement of the speaker. Well, in a free air application, there's very little back pressure, if any at all, so the speaker has to control its own movement so it doesn't overexert, overmove, or bottom itself out. So if you take a free air woofer and you put it in a box, you may be very underwhelmed with the performance because it's not designed for that application. So it's important to understand that if you're building your own boat system, make sure you get the correct subwoofer. They do come in 10s and 12s, and of course they have LED grills to go with them. Ernie, can you shut down my laptop real quick? Let's talk amplifiers real quick. So a couple things in amplifiers. We've got two different lines of marine amplifiers, and as I mentioned earlier, ABYC is really important to talk about, especially in amplifiers. One of the common conditions of amplifiers in the marine environment is the amplifier itself will be mounted typically in some sort of an enclosed cargo area, and then sometimes they're actually put in the engine compartment. And if you've got vapors, gas vapors, fumes in the engine compartment, and you've got an amplifier in there, you have a potential ignition source, big boom. So the amplifier power and ground terminals and speaker terminals have to be ABYC compliant, which means there can be no stray bare wires when you put that power and ground wire or speaker wire into the amplifier. You can't have any stray wires. So what we have is this clamping system where you put the power and ground wire into the amplifier, and then when you screw down the terminal, there's actually a stainless steel clamp in there, and it just squishes down on top of the power and ground wire, so that way there are no bare wires sticking out the sides with the potential to cause sparks. So that's part of the ABYC compliance. Same thing on the speaker terminals. In addition, the fusing is really, really important, and I've got one here. So in fusing in the boat, Ernie, can you get a close-up on that? So this is our ABYC compliant MRBF fuse. I know it's a lot of acronyms, sorry about that. But an MRBF fuse is an ignition protected fuse. And to the best of my knowledge, we are the only car audio company offering an MRBF fuse for marine applications. And what's so important about this is that it is completely sealed, ignition protected. So should your amplifier draw too much current, like Jeff was talking about, if you do blow a fuse, even if there's a spark inside that fuse, that spark is never in contact with gasoline fumes. So there's no ignition, no pop, no boom. So this fuse holder actually mounts right on top of the battery post. So the fuse, in car audio we say 18 inches, the fuse must be within the battery, 18 inches from the battery. Well, in boat, it's 7 inches or less. So rather than go with the 7 inches, we actually just go right on top of the power terminal on the battery itself. So now the fuse is right on top of it. In addition, we have these great power and ground distribution blocks, and this is a power distribution. So you can put multiple fuses of different values on this power distribution, with one power coming in and then distributing out to your various power amplifiers or accessories in one fuse block. Also ABYC compliant. And then of course we also have a ground distribution as well. So when it comes to marine installation accessories, excuse me, we have taken this ABYC very seriously and specifically designed these installation products for that application. Now you may be looking at this, this yellow wire over here. You probably saw this earlier. Yellow is actually the ground, DC current ground for the marine applications. Of course, in car audio, we're typically using black, but in a boat, you might have AC and DC. And so they want, the Coast Guard wants the boat builders to use yellow for all the DC ground and then black for the AC ground. And that's just so when you're looking at the electrical panel, you know exactly what's going on inside that boat with the power and the ground. So that's why we're using those colors, which looks a little odd. So we do have complete power kits, of course. And in a boat, all the power kits have equal lengths of power and ground because, of course, you're not simply grounding the amplifiers to the chassis of the boat because it's not connected to the battery. So you have to run your power and your ground the length of the boat or to wherever it is that the bank of batteries are located. So that's why you'll see the power kits have power and ground of equal lengths. A couple other things to consider with the amplifiers. So we are using our KX as the base for the KXMA. So everything you know and love about the KX series amplifiers is in the KXMA. I keep pointing, oh, there, it is on camera. Okay, good. I've got a different shot than I had the last couple times I did the show. So the KXMA is based on the KX amplifiers. So you've got all the power and ground and speaker connections on one side, and then all the controls on the other side. Oh, okay, Ernie's hollering at me. He's saying you can get this in the shot. Okay, so you've got all your power and your ground connections and your speaker connections all on one side of the amplifier. And that allows for a cleaner, simpler install. And then the other end, you've got, I think this is probably locked down, of course, you've got all your preamp controls. And this door actually has a rubber gasket around it. So when you're done setting up all the preamp controls, you close the door and screw it down, and now moisture can't get in there. So these amplifiers, once again, are built with the ABYC compliance in mind. So you can use them in the marine environment and know that they're going to work. Now, are they submersible? No. No, these are not designed to go underwater. Now, if water gets in the amplifier, it's going to be fine because all the circuit boards are conformal coated. Conformal coating is essentially like an epoxy resin, and the circuit board is dipped into that epoxy resin, so all the components are protected, and the circuit board itself is sealed. Now, the circuit board, they are made of essentially fiberglass. So if they were not completely sealed, they would actually absorb moisture. And as they absorb moisture, the fiberglass would expand and the parts would simply fall off, and of course the amplifier would fail. That's why that conformal coating is so important. Now, if the amplifier ever needs to be serviced, this is another reason you can't just take it to any car audio guy to service the amplifier, because in order to reconformal coat the board, it needs to come back to Kicker so we can take care of that for you. So if you ever have a problem with a Kicker Marine amplifier, please send it to us so we can handle it for you. So that's the KXMA. They also have steeper subwoofer crossover controls, subsonic filters. We mentioned subsonic filters with Jeff, and he's a fan of not using them. But of course, he's building such large subwoofer enclosures with very low tuning, so he's not really running into challenges with low frequency extension. But if you're using a smaller driver, or we talked about the free air driver, you want to protect those smaller drivers from the really low bass notes. So for example, let's say you're using a 10-inch driver and you're using a free air application. You're going to want to set that subsonic filter probably right around maybe 40, maybe 30 hertz. And the way to set it is you want to put in a test disc, or use our app, Kicker U amplifier actually has test tones on it, and put in a 40 hertz bass note, so a 40 hertz sine wave, sorry, not a bass note, but a sine wave. And then you're going to see that woofer, and it's going to be moving quite a bit. Slowly turn that subsonic filter up, and the woofer is going to begin to move just a little bit less, a little bit less. If you move it too high, the woofer will almost stop. That means you've set it way too high. So turn it back down again until the woofer is moving, but it's definitely not bottoming out, and that'll help you set your subsonic filters properly. Doing that will protect the woofer and ensure that they're going to live longer, especially when you're playing some deep bass. So that's how to set up the subsonic filter. Of course, low pass filter, you want to make sure the subwoofer is not playing any vocals. If you're hearing voices through the subwoofer, it's simply set too high, so you want to turn that down a bit. So that's it on KXMA. KMA, a couple features are removed, like now the end panel controls are not sealed behind this door. They're still conformal, conformal coated, but they're not sealed like they are in here. We still have ABYC compliant terminals, but the amplifier, just smaller choices in terms of power. So we'll still have multi-channel amplifiers, we'll have bass amplifiers, but you just don't have as many channels and you don't have as much power. So that's the essential differences between the two. Looking at the clock, I see that we've got to give away something really, really cool. So I think I'm going to stop talking about amplifiers for a few moments. And it looks like Tony is ready to come in. So let's go ahead and bring Tony in, and let's talk about what we're giving away. Hello, Tony.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate your time.
Hey, no problem at all. It's always good to, you can always learn something new. Listening to the waterproof and, the way you guys go into detail on those boards is, it relates directly to the alternator as well. We have marine-specific alternators. I'm pretty sure we're still the only one that is license for the marine market with an alternator.
Really?
I believe so. There may be some, but they're just like stock replacement type deals, or
Sure.
something with like real flashy chrome or something that looks good on the internet.
Wow. Well, if we haven't yet connected you with Jeff, then we should connect you guys, because he's doing some insane builds and he could probably use some of your products.
Yeah, I talked to Tim Smith. I believe you said he's on honeymoon. Right
Yes,
about now?
yes, he's honeymooning.
Yeah, he picked up one of our small case billet 240s, I believe it is, for his. Is it a older square body truck?
Yeah, he's got a C10. Yeah,
C10.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, he picked up one of those nice black one for one of his. It's got like some ICT bracket that's on it.
Nice.
We make ones that fit those. I tried to get him into the larger case, like kind of like the style that we're giving away tonight.
Yeah.
But those are just big daddy alternators, and they really eat up a lot of real estate in the engine bay. And I was hesitant to have that one on there due to the space in front of the cylinder head on his application. So, better safe than sorry. This is it's still a black. It's classy. It's normal black, but it's anodized black. Everything is just it'll blend right in without jumping right at you. And that'll look good on his build.
Yeah, it'll complement it instead of, hey, look, I'm here, I'm an alternator. Right?
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like. Just because you paint something red doesn't mean that it needs to be red.
Yeah. Well, of course, the one we're giving away tonight is definitely designed to be seen, because it's gold. It's beautiful.
We cater to all kinds. It's some people prefer that murdered out look, and some people just want to showcase one thing. And I do want to thank you guys for getting me in touch with Kev Dog at Can Dig It Designs. He picked up a 140 for his Suburban build that's going to have I think it's called your Warhorse.
Yes.
Yeah,
wow.
I told him that'll be no problem. I set him up with the 05 up vehicles have a ECU controlled voltage, and it's great if you're trying to get 25 miles per gallon in your Suburban. But it's we'll take care of that. He'll have all the voltage, and I think excess power down here, Scotty. We'll set him up with some D3400s or 4800s, or I don't know. I think you need 6 or 8 batteries to run that Warhorse. So
8. That's right.
8, okay. Yeah, there you go. So he should be good to go on that thing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
so you and I haven't talked before, so forgive me if I'm asking you a question you've already answered. But how did you get into the high output alternator business? I mean, how does that happen?
Well, when I was 16, you get your first piece of crap car, $800.
Yeah.
Side of it caved in, but by God, you wash it every week because it's all you got. And just you hear the other guys in town. And you're like, man, I have a little bit of extra money.
Yeah.
This is back, in dinosaur days when there were still tapes and CDs. So
yes.
But got into that, and that was my first experience with. Wow, why does my truck turn into a disco show at night? It was one of those things where it's kind of cool, but for the people that knew what was going on, it means you were an idiot. So,
yes.
So I got it. I never really did in my teens and maybe early 20s. I think that I was more into, once I got out of the bass stuff, I was more into the sound quality, and I just found that with higher quality components and, not your random flashy, weird name stuff or companies that pop up and now we're no longer here. I stuck with, a little bit, more expensive product, but I thought it was higher quality and I could get more out of it without taking up the space. So, some kicker, I had one of those Sola Barracks I thought was just awesome.
Nice.
Small space, and just as we're thinking here, I happen to have one of these for my day.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's a ZX 300.1?
300.1. I had 3 of these, or excuse me, I had 2 of these, and then the 4-channel version of it. I had one 300.1 on, I think it was 10-inch CVR, and then later on I redid a box in my Mustang and ended up with 2 12s in a sealed box. And I was just really into like a hard rock phase at that point, so I wasn't chasing the 35, low hertz and whatnot.
Yes.
So the 12s in a good sealed box didn't take up much room. It sounded real nice, tight, and crisp. And
yes.
Kicker 6.5s. After you rip out that really cool Mach 460 sound system in those old Mustangs.
Yes.
And
those are terrible.
Yeah. And I remember buying that car. That was my first brand new car I ever bought, and I was like, man, I'm just going to get this car and keep it nice. And it was a deluxe, had leather interior, Mach 460.
Wow.
600 miles on it, had a roll cage in it. So
you are serious.
Yeah, I've been making just excellent decisions my entire life with vehicles.
Well, we all had to start somewhere, right?
And then, as for the audio part of it, I got into racing then, and I kind of stepped away out of it. I still enjoyed a good sound system, but just didn't have time for it. And then I ended up working for Honda, cars, boats.
Honda America, yeah.
Yeah, Honda America. And I did that for about 20 years, and then
wow.
I'm a numbers geek. I like being able to find a solution to a problem without any gray area. It's either right or wrong, and 1 is 1, 2 is 2, and the logistics of everything was cool. And then that time had passed, and I was getting into hobbies, and my friend Matt Young that owns McMahon Alternators, I've known him for those 20 plus years. We
how many years you say?
20 plus.
20 years. Wow. Okay, that's great. So you've seen a lot of bad alternators.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of unique. I'll just say unique. You have to be politically correct.
Okay.
But Matt's just been always a great guy. I met this guy at a street race one time, and I was like, man, this guy just, you get that vibe. He's just a straight shooter. He's honest. Just a really good dude, and we just hung out and had similar opinions and similar goals. And at the time, he's kind of turned into a Chevy guy, and I'm a Ford guy. We each with each other about it. But
yeah,
this Saturday, I owe him my Jeep. For some reason, a fuel pump relay broke on it, and we had to hack wire it to get it going, and then it fell off the side of this mountain. And
oh, jeez.
So it was one of those cases where we were, had a winch in the front, winch in the back. He had obviously an alternator on his, so just sitting there idle. Just you can make these little rinky-dink winches you can buy. Really the power if you have the power to put to them. So not many vehicles will pretty much winch a full-size 1-ton Jeep up a vertical hillside. So very thankful for that. So
Tony, you and I are about to make someone really happy right now.
Oh,
so
great.
we're gonna announce the winner of this beautiful alternator we're giving away together. So Bill, can you help us out with the name of the winner? So the winner is Nathan S. in Georgia. Nathan S. in Georgia. Congratulations. You are the winner of the McMahon alternator, the gold alternator. So Nathan, please get in touch with us. We want to get your shipping information, and I'm sure that Tony will also give you some personal instruction on how to get the best performance out of that in his ride.
Absolutely.
So that'd be great. So thank you, Tony.
I was just going to say that gold case, we've had it. We haven't built it yet.
Okay.
We just wanted to make sure the customer got the right one. Sometimes they may need the output stud on the rear or at the side, or sometimes they may even want it set up for an external regulator. So.
Okay. So you're going to walk them through it.
Yeah, Steve Meade should be engraving that right now. There'll probably be a Facebook or Instagram.
Nice.
So it was sent off today. Just wanted to go ahead and get the cases done and finished up, and then that way we can assemble it to however the customer will want. We can set it up as a 2-pin plug and play or a 4-pin bypass like Kev Dogs.
So it's truly customized.
Yeah, it's sometimes you get. Somebody may want to use this as a secondary alternator.
Yeah.
In a Ford Tempo for whatever reason. These days you have to give the haters online something to eat on because that's what they love. They just like to pick apart. A gold alternator like a Ford Tempo, with a blown head gasket. That'd make somebody angry probably.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tony, thank you so much for your time tonight. I do appreciate it. And thank you for this wonderful prize we're giving away together. That's awesome. And we'll be in touch, sir. Good night.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. You've helped me out so much. And really special thanks to Bill, who's kind of led me in the right direction and where to go. I see why you guys are where you're at and the level of quality that you demand. So
thank you.
Definitely appreciate that. And if you guys need anything, my name's Tony, Tony@mechman.com. I'm usually all over Facebook, Instagram, the keyboard, whatever. Just if you have a question, you don't feel like posting on a public forum, just email me. And you may think it's stupid, but we all got to start somewhere.
We do. All right.
Likes the disco ball.
That's right. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So Nathan S. in Georgia, man, what a great prize. And Tony's even going to walk you through the process to figure out exactly what you need for your build. So that's fantastic. Well, let's make sure I've done everything I need to do. Ernie, am I doing everything I got to do tonight?
Gotta give away some more stuff.
Oh, giveaway stuff. Oh, sorry. Yes, we're giving away more stuff. So, Bill, you want to give us third place? Who's the third place winner? Jason P. from Minnesota. Jason P., Minnesota. You're getting EB400s. If my mom asks you for your pair, no, Mom, you can't have them. So Jason P., congratulations. Who's the number 2? Who's our second winner tonight? Farrell H., North Dakota. Farrell H. It's still winter up there, man. You're going to need those Tabers. Still winter up there. So yeah, Farrell, thank you very much. Farrell H., you're the winner. Second place winner. Number 1, who's the grand prize winner tonight? Cush NCs. David B., Louisiana. David B., you are the man. You are the winner. You win the Cush NC, the noise canceling, so your wife will suddenly be quiet, or your mom or your neighbor, whomever. They'll just be awesomely quiet. So congratulations. Please get to us with your t-shirt sizes. And if you're feeling awesome, please send us a picture of you and your t-shirt with your winnings. That'd be pretty cool for us. We'd like to share that. So every Tuesday night, 7:30 Central Time, UnMasked, please like us, please subscribe to us, and we will plan to see you next Tuesday. Hopefully John's back and feeling better. Good night, folks. Thank you for being here.